Welcome to this video lecture on the Unit 41 of the Module 12 of our course Sociology of Health and Illness. Dear learners, in the previous units we have discussed about the meaning of disability, the problems faced by them, and about various schemes and programs that are made available by different agencies to the persons with disability. Thus, disability is viewed from three broad approaches, and those are the strength-based approach, the rights-based approach, and the cross-disability approach. So in this unit, we will discuss about these three approaches. Now let us first discuss about the strength-based approach. The strength-based approach to disability focuses on the skills and abilities that the persons with disability have to offer. Therefore, it would foster much more access to education and employment. This approach emphasizes the strengths and skills that individuals with disabilities contribute to the work environment and the rest of their communities. This approach argues that rather than motivating companies or employers to hire persons with disability or encouraging them to be sympathetic towards employees with disabilities, there should be initiatives to highlight how the strengths of individuals with varying disabilities would benefit their employers. To promote inclusive education also, strength-based approach is extremely significant. This approach intends to facilitate the development of self-esteem and self-determination among the people with disability. This is a perspective that recognizes the fact that employment of individuals require proper accommodation in order to reduce workplace barrier. However, this approach argues that when hiring any individual, whether diagnosed with disability or not, should always be on the basis of talent that they can offer. The advocates of this approach argue that a movement towards a more positive and strength-based approach to the concept of disability will enable further access to social inclusion, education, and employment. Though much progress has been made in this direction, but improvements are needed so that all the individuals have access to acceptance, education, and job in a way that they can be autonomous, financially independent, and thereby feel included. The next is the rights-based approach. The rights-based approach to health and social care of the persons with disability is widely accepted internationally as a best practice approach. It is rooted in the principles of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. In its report, Human Rights and Health and Social Care, the British Institute of Human Rights states that at the core of human rights are the values of fairness, equality, dignity, respect, and autonomy, values which are also at the core of quality health and social care. Some of the reasons why a rights-based approach to health and social care is considered to be the best practice are: it supports health and social care staff in meeting their professional ethical obligations. This approach improves both the quality and effectiveness of health and social care. It improves decision-making processes and enhances the health and well-being of all the service users. This approach sends a message to the society that people with disabilities are first and foremost equal persons with human rights. This approach also intends to bring out meaningful participation and engagement of people with disability in the design and delivery of health and social care services. This approach intends to help health and social care staff to understand the range of societal and cultural factors that can impact an individual's health and well-being. Also, it intends to reduce the complaints and litigations in this direction. However, despite these benefits and the law underpinning this approach, people with disabilities has been experiencing barriers in accessing health and social care, and many times experience human rights issues like inhuman, degrading or humiliating treatment, underdiagnosis, questions over their capacity to make decisions, lack of information to make informed decisions, stigma in relation to sexual and reproductive health, difficulties in maintaining family life, poor physical access and inaccessible communication systems, etc. And though a few get institutionalized care, but often with limited funding for independent living and community care. Recent media reports have also highlighted the challenges in making a rights-based approach to health and social care a reality, including the Dil Not report on the funding of care and support and the BBC Panorama's documentary on abuse in a residential hospital. Human rights issues in health and social care have worsened by the current pressure on the resources faced by the health authorities. A rights-based approach towards disability is not necessarily about introducing anything new, but it is about improving and building upon what is already in place. So in that context, a health and social care organization could carry out a review of their policies to ensure that they comply with the principles of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. Such a policy review should identify who will be affected by the policy, which human rights are relevant, who in the organization is responsible, and how will these rights be protected and promoted. Then the staff should be trained to understand the implications of the Human Rights Act on health and social care, the rights of the people with disabilities, and how to practically apply a rights-based approach in their role. Professional bodies should also teach the core human rights in all the training courses. Health and social care staff should presume that a person with disability has the capacity to make decisions, and the person should be supported in doing so. Advocacy should be available if needed to support the people with disability to identify, quantify, and present their needs, priorities, and concern to others, particularly service providers, in a way that it is accessible and sensitive to the individual. Health and social care organizations should develop a communications strategy to ensure that the staff are aware of the commitment to human rights. Also recognize people with disabilities as holders of rights and understand the implications of a rights-based approach. The physical accessibility of health and social care buildings and the services for people with disabilities should be reviewed and improved. People with disabilities should be included in all the consultations, especially while constructing a barrier-free environment. A barrier-free environment is one where anybody can move without any help, freely and safely as they want. We are always going here and there around the world wherever there is a need. We can go to our workplace, religious places, school, college, hospital, park, restaurant, cinema hall, market, and so on. This freedom and choice is our barrier-free environment. The word barrier also means obstruction that stops a person to do something that he or she wants to do. When a person has some disability, he or she can face some challenge in movement or doing something. Research has found that there are almost 1 billion people across the world that live with some form of disability. In India, more than 21 million people are suffering from some kind of disability. The people with disabilities may face physical, social, economical, attitudinal barriers in their everyday life that stops them to participate fully and effectively in the community or society. They face barriers to access basic needs like education, employment, healthcare, and social support system. In the year 1995, India formulated a separate law for the persons with disability for their equal opportunity, protection of their rights, and full participation. The Act specifies that the governments, local authorities make sure provisions of barrier-free facilities in all new government buildings and public utilities, roads, and transport. There are 5 types of barriers to accessibilities for persons with disability, namely attitudinal, organizational or systemic, architectural or physical, information or communication, and technology related. Most of us may be physically or psychologically disabled at some point of time in our lives. A child, a person with a broken leg, an elderly person, etc. all disabled in one way or the other. Accessible environment is beneficial for a broader range of people, especially applicable for the persons with disability. For example, assistance of ramps helps the parents for pushing the baby strollers. Simple language of information can help to understand someone who is illiterate or someone who is not a native speaker. A list of design elements need to be considered when creating a barrier-free environment. For example, the ramps, elevators, stairs, railings, handrails, entrances, receptions, doors, corridors, restroom or toilets, classrooms, library, conference hall or auditorium, cafeteria, hostel, etc. So there are some guidelines to ensure a barrier-free environment. As per the Central Public Works design for barrier-free environment, the various disabilities which can be considered while preparing the guidelines for barrier-free built environment are classified into 4 categories. First is the non-ambulatory, that includes impairments which confines individuals to the wheelchairs. Then comes the semi-ambulatory, that concerns impairments that cause individuals to walk with difficulty or insecurity. Then comes those associated with sight, which includes total blindness or impairments affecting sight to the extent that the individual functioning in public areas is insecure or exposed to danger. Then comes those related to hearing, which includes deafness or hearing handicaps that might make an individual feel insecure in public places because he or she might not be able to communicate or hear the warning signals. Then for school children with multiple disability to have a barrier-free environment require all entrance and doorways in the school buildings to be at least 4 to 5 feet wide. The toilets inside the school should be accessible to children with special needs. This toilet should be fitted with a commode and a green rails, and the drinking water outlets should be accessible too. Thus, the role of technology in dealing with disability is immense. Any disability brought about by a natural phenomenon such as birth condition or anything that must have just happened after unanticipated or accidental injuries is now best dealt with using assistive technology so that one can continue doing whatever they were doing prior to that condition. Rehabilitative technologies also make lives much better and reduce the impact of disability. The main purpose of using these rehabilitative technologies is to make the person with disability feel a part of society and to enable them to lead a normal life. For example, people who have a knack of cooking and who love to do it but are prevented from doing so because of their disabilities can use adaptive utensils now. Adaptive switches help them to perform everyday activities like playing games, cooking, among many other activities. Some features of the assistive devices help people with special needs to dress and groom themselves. Since devices are of much help to the persons with disability, the scheme of assistance to the disabled persons for purchase fitting of aids is an endeavor of the government to provide the persons with disability with aids and appliances at a minimum cost. The requirement of providing of aids and appliances which are essential for the social, economic and vocational rehabilitation of the person with disability has come into a sharp focus, particularly after the enactment of Persons with Disability Act 1995, which came into force in 1996. This scheme aims at helping the persons with disability by bringing suitable, durable, scientifically manufactured, modern standard aids and appliances within their reach. The third approach to understand disability is the cross-disability approach. It is an umbrella approach that intends to recognize and address the needs and rights of all the persons with disability under one platform. But this approach is often criticized on the ground that it is an uneasy umbrella category that can hinder real improvements in the lives of people with specific experiences and needs. It is also criticized that cross-disability benefits NGOs that have largely moved away from impairment-specific work to being one-size-fits-all disability NGOs, whereby they are able to increase the numbers of people served and demonstrate their impacts to the funders, which many times do not serve the main purpose. So dear learners, in this unit we have tried to understand the different approach to understand disability. Thank you.